Welcome to this edition of the Wonderbury podcast.
I'm Brian.
I'm Dave.
You can find us online at wonderbury.com.
And I am D. Wonderly on Twitter.
Or I'm Brian Keysbury, anywhere the internet can be found.
You can leave us a message, a comment, an anything in our Facebook, website, Twitter using hashtag Wonderbury. Pretty much anywhere where you can find us, we will be watching, listening, waiting patiently.
Yep.
So how was your week, man?
Very neglected subreddit.
Oh, yeah, well, you know. We'll get there. Eventually, we'll get there.
Yeah. If you're on Reddit, just look it up. Somebody, I mean, it's me and Dave alone in a room. And you know what happens when you leave us to that?
Nothing good. At least not after midnight.
We got 2 hours.
So how was your week?
Not bad. Not bad. Like, what did I do? Nothing. I worked a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, worked a lot. Tried to learn some 3D modeling.
Not easy.
No, not at all.
Not easy at all.
How was your week?
It was all right, I think. Fairly uneventful. Watched his SpaceX launch. Worked this last weekend. Lots of rain, more rain, and then it rained some more. It's been fairly monsoony for the last week. Yeah, right? It's been bad. It's been fairly floody and bad and rainy and all those fun things, but overall not so bad. Getting paperwork stuff from mom and yeah. Keeping even closer eye on all the healthcare stuff going on because that now directly affects my family and our financial situation and even more so. And it's just, you know.
Have you seen anything about Jimmy Kimmel and his child?
Not really, no.
Oh. He apparently they had a kid, him and his wife, and the kid had some conditions that required immediate open heart surgery when the child was 3 days old.
Yeah.
But it was covered by their insurance. Whereas if their insurance wasn't covering pre-existing conditions, it wouldn't cover their child because it was born with that condition. And so it had the condition before it was technically covered under insurance.
Yeah, that pre-existing conditions thing is a real nightmare that they're trying to figure out. And, you know, I'm not saying that Obamacare or the ACA is perfect, and I'm not saying that this is a very good, replacement. I think both had some massive flaws. I think that, you know, it's something that's not going to be solved by just trying to naysay what someone else did and try to jam something through just to naysay what someone else did. That's not going to solve any problems. That's going to cause more problems than it solves. From the way it looks, so today is the 4th of May, so happy Star Wars Day, everybody. But the way it looks is that it was announced pretty much soon after it passed. Senator Lindsey Graham and a different senator from the Republican side in the Senate pretty much said, yeah, that bill's DOA on arrival. It's not even going to get to the floor over here. We're going to rework it and do it the right way. So whether or not they do or whether or not that's just more naysaying, I have no clue, but, you know, whatever.
That's good because my child was also born with some pre-existing conditions. So,
well, my mom, her extended FMLA got denied because of pre-existing conditions. So, we're still fighting with that, and that's not even health insurance. That's the whole other half of it. That's just kind of, it's just been a nightmare dealing with everything.
Yeah.
But there seems to be some, she's going to go through her radiation and chemotherapy, and then after that, then it looks like I have no doubt she'll make a really good recovery out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Next couple
awesome.
months are going to be trying, but no, it looks good. Looks real good.
Nice. Oh, so you, your favorite Starship was the Reliant, which is a Miranda class.
Yep.
Mine's just the Miranda class. I like the freaking roll bar on the top. That's awesome. I don't know why I'm so attracted to that roll bar.
It was the roll bar, and it was the nacelles that were just under the saucer. It looked different from the other Federation class ships that you had seen because you really saw it for the first time pretty much in Star Trek II.
Yeah.
With the Wrath of Khan. And Khan being one of my favorite Star Trek villains of all time, 2 being my favorite movie hands down of any of the Star Trek movies. It really, that and the Klingon Bird of Prey really, yeah. I've actually got 2 models. If you view the BTS this week, there'll be a picture of my insanely messy desk at the moment. But you'll see that I have 2 models of the Bird of Prey on my desk. 3 if you count the one from one of the new movies, the pre-Bird of Prey from Not Beyond Into Darkness. I've also got that one up there. So I've got technically 3 Bird of Preys on my desk.
Oh crap, what was that called? I'm like, that was the Be Real. But Be Real is a member of Cypress Hill and not a Star Trek ship. I don't remember. I just watched this on a YouTube channel. By the way, the YouTube channel called Trek Yards. Holy crap. I have never learned so much about Star Trek ships in my life. Amazing. But so anyways, I back to the Miranda class 3D modeling. I found a 3D model of I don't remember which one it was. It wasn't the Reliant, but it was a Miranda class ship.
Yeah.
Persephone? Maybe?
Possibly. I think there were, I want to say there were
there's 6.
5 or 6 of them.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's it had the USS and it had the NCC number, and I was like, oh, that looks easy. I could just like zoom in and paint over that and just paint in Wonderbury and paint in with crap, I forgot. Oh, 13113. Yeah. As our registration number. And turns out 3D modeling isn't even that simple. Like you don't just go in and pay like the letters and numbers were actual panels, and so I had to remove the panels, which were cut out of the panel it was on, and then go in and start cutting out where the new letters will be.
Yep.
And then create new letters in new panels, which is ridiculous because they're 2-color, like it's a black with a red outline. So each letter is actually 2 pieces that you then have to fit into the overall panel where all the letters sit in. And I think I got 2 letters done. Was just kind of like, oh, holy cow.
Yeah, it gets kind of complicated and convoluted doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I dabbled with it years and years ago with 3D Max. I kind of played with a little bit. Someone gave me a version of it, and this would have been, oh boy, late 90s. Last time I played with 3D Max.
Huh. So if any listeners do any 3D modeling, let us know.
Yeah.
We have some stuff we need done.
That would be actually really awesome.
Right? Because eventually I would like to do a flyby of the USS Wonderbury. And if you're watching the video, see my hand come in and like, and then we beam in. Like,
and then we beam out.
Beamed into our set from the ship. Yeah, and then at the end we got the beam out and we take off and shoot off into warp.
That would be awesome.
Which, you know, we had originally talked about how that works with copyright stuff. And
yeah.
While researching the copyright issue, I found the article on Star Trek and the Axanar film, the YouTube film, where Paramount finally got upset that people were doing full-length feature films when their kind of terms of service, I guess, they allow some stuff.
Right.
And they, you know, and it appears like what I would like for our intros and outros should be plenty fine. Like, we're not using it as a Star Trek show.
Nope.
We're just using it as like, hey,
and
we're fans.
We're not even using one of their trademarked or copyright names, because I think they have a whole list of things that you can and cannot do it. And it's actually very, as much as it sounds like that would be very restrictive, it's actually very non-restrictive of what all they allow us to do.
And that's what blew me away, was they actually have it all on the StarTrek.com website. StarTrek.com/fan-films.
Yep.
And it gives you guidelines for what you can and can't do. In a fan film, there's literally only 10. Only 10.
Yeah, go ahead if you can. If you have them right there in front of you.
They're a little wordy, like maybe a paragraph on each one. But we'll put up a link for anybody that wants to see it. And essentially, the problem with Axanar was they allow up to 30 minutes total. But Axanar was meant to be like an hour and a half, like a full feature-length film. And it had Walter Koenig in it. They had some actual Star Trek stars that were going to reprise characters, and that's kind of where they hit the no-no mark. And Paramount was finally like, "Now wait a minute, you guys raised $1 million. You've got our contracted stars on board, but you guys are no." And that's where a lawsuit happened. They finally. It says they came to an agreement, but it wasn't super clear on what the agreement was. I have seen more action on their YouTube channel recently, so I don't know if they're going to be pushing ahead with at least releasing some stuff.
But one of the bonuses that came out of that agreement, though, is that now we have very clear-cut what is and isn't allowed in fan films.
We finally hit that wall for Star Trek fan films,
which is really good, and it's actually very favorable for us, which is nice. But this also brings in a whole different realm, because a lot of people would say, "Well, wouldn't that be covered under fair use?" Well, no. And just okay. So if we're gonna go jump into this, I need to be very clear. We are not legal professionals. We're not copyright professionals. The copyright and fair use laws are deep, wordy, arbitrary, and very... It depends on who's seeing the case-ish, or it can tend to be that way. So before you start jumping in and you're trying to use something, if it's not very clear, talk to a lawyer. Don't listen to a couple guys on the internet. Lawyer. Go talk to an actual... Hire someone and talk to them, because this stuff can get...
Hop on the Google and search for copyright lawyer near me, and then take them your plan and say, "This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Is this okay?" Even then, I'm pretty sure the copyright lawyer will probably tell you no, but that you can proceed at your own risk. Mostly because there's not a whole lot of precedence. From what I've seen and what I've read so far, there's not a whole lot of precedence. It's usually whenever they get into that scenario, the judges want to default to the copyright owners. So,
well, and that's because copyright. Okay, so let's start. What is exactly a copyright? And a copyright is a legal right that is usually done by a territory or a country. So the copyrights that you hold in the United States may not work in the EU, vice versa. But it grants the creator of an original work exclusive rights for use and distribution. If I create something, it's mine. And it helps protect me that someone can't come over and go, oh, look, that's really cool. I will use that exact thing and I will re-release it under my name, and because I'm richer than you, I can push out distribution further. It protects the original. It protects the creator, which is why it's a very, very important, especially in original contents like for music or for film or things like that. It's very, very important to those people, especially if their living depends on it. It's extremely important for them.
As somebody that has done a lot of creative content over my life, like I've had a couple of times where I found my content on other people's site where it's been posted like as their own. Actually, my best example is one of the sites that I webmastered is a stonerhoroscope.com, which is kind of a niche smokers horoscope site. And the people that actually create it, they found another website had copied word for word every horoscope for a whole month and pasted it on one page on their website. And then at the very bottom, no links or anything. At the very bottom, it just said via Stoner Horoscope. Like, no any sort of link back to the actual site it came from. And me being their tech god, they messaged me and said, hey, what do we do about this? And so we thought, well, maybe we can work out some sort of business deal with them. And they publish our content, we get free advertising. And we try, and the guy was like, no, this is fair use. And I was like, this is not fair use. You word for word copied a whole website onto your website. Like, that is not fair use. You added no commentary. You added no educational value. And I went through the list of known fair use uses. And he just kept, no, that's how it is. This is fair use and we can do this. And so as a content creator, you have this amazing thing called the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And that allows you to draft up a nice letter to send to them and say, either you immediately take this down or there's a lawsuit. And you send one to the person that owns that site, and you send one to their hosting company. Because clearly, the guy running the website didn't want to help out at all. But his hosting company, when we said, if you don't remove this site, you may also be held liable. Guess what? The hosting company does a lot of business, and they don't like to screw around. They immediately shut down his site until he removed that page. And I got a phone call within an hour. He's like, so what kind of deal can we work out? And I was just like, dude, we are long past that. We are long past that. Like, that was my first offer, was let's work a deal. Otherwise it's going to get nasty. Now it's nasty, and you want to work a deal. Like, you're shit out of luck. We're moved on. So you have rights, that's that's what that's there for. It's to protect the content creators in situations like that. Actually, I think I still have that letter. I bet you I could template that and share that as a link too. If anybody ever needs a DMCA notice, I got one. We got your back.
We will put now, and that's all well and good, and that's what those are intended for. Now you'll hear people that'll, they're abusing it, they're doing this, they're doing that, but fair use is actually very limited in its scope of what it's allowed. So the relevant section, so the fair use, is found under Section 17 of the U.S. Code, subsection 107.
Yeah.
It says, fair use of a copyrighted work, including such use by reproduction copies of phone records or by any other means specified by that section for the purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, or research, is not an infringement of copyright. There's your list.
That's
copying something and redisplaying it, or making money off of it that is not money as in for criticism, comment, news reporting. Also, it's also very to notice that a parody does not constitute as an infringement either. Parodies are allowed under, I believe, under 106 and 106A under the Copyright Act.
See, now I've wondered how far that even goes.
So
I think about like
you have to change
Family
one or
Guy
the
Star
other.
Wars episodes, like how, like that gives you the whole essence of the movies.
They were utilizing the difference between a parody. So, best case scenario for a parody would be Weird Al. He takes, but he replays. He doesn't take the existing song. He takes the music, he replays the music, and changes the word to create a parody. Or he'll use the words from a song and throw them into a polka and create a parody. Yep. That's a parody. An SNL sketch that utilizes Star Trek would be a parody. A show that is based in the world is not a parody.
Yeah.
So there's a definite difference between a parody and taking an existing universe and creating a show. You can argue that it's a parody all you want, but there's plenty of cases where that has been, kind of shut down from.
Yep.
Where that's not allowed. And this is the reason why fair use is such a arbitrary thing based on judges, because there isn't a whole lot to go on based on the actual on Title 107 subsection or whatever 17 subsection 107. There isn't a lot there. There's a couple more paragraphs where it's any particular case in a fair use factor shall include the purpose and character of the use, including whether such is of a commercial nature or nonprofit educational, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyright work as a whole, and the effect of the use upon the potential market or value of the copyright work. So
see, I think that's where Axonar got in trouble.
Right. Because it was definite, this is our show set in your universe. Well, that universe is
owned by Paramount and the CBS.
Yep. Depending on if it's television show or movie, that's the weird thing they have going on. I think
I think Paramount owns all the trademarks, but CBS owns the rights to make TV shows.
Yeah, I think CBS owns the distribution for television. Paramount owns, because I think CBS has to license the trademarks for the TV show, but Paramount allows it because they want television distribution. It's for Star Trek, it's a weird thing. For most things, it's more cut and dry.
Yeah.
Usually. But
Star Wars, that shit's owned by Disney and you don't screw with them.
No.
No.
And so trademarks are even more of a bouncy slope. In utilizing someone's trademark, because even if it's not even for it, you can still infringe on a trademark by publishing under a name that's trademarked or any of those types of things. And I found that out the hard way with Disney, with this Darkwing Duck. I'm wearing my Darkwing Duck shirt tonight. You know, I owned darkwingduck.org for a very long time, and I blogged under it, and I developed under that name. And apparently, when the top three of the top 5 responses on Google for Darkwing Duck is not Disney-owned Darkwing Duck, trademark lawyers have a conniption fit over that.
Yep. I remember when that all went down. That was kind of neat.
No, it was kind of cool, and like I had no problems. You know, they contacted me and they asked me very politely and nicely. They didn't try to take me to court. They were very nice about it. And I knew that if I tried to take him to court, I'd probably end up losing. So I was like, okay, fine. And that's where the name Open Darkwing was born, because at the time I was doing all my stuff through, for open source, and I asked them, can I just use Darkwing? And they said Darkwing was fine. So, that had to change. But on the flip side, I understand the whole trademark and the copyright and protecting your brand and protecting your intellectual property, because that's what it is. It's your property.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like it if someone broke into your house and stole your stuff while you were sleeping.
Yeah. So
and then complained that they have the right to use it.
Photos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hung them up in their house, said, no, this is fair use. No, that's not fair. That's my family, dumbass.
Yeah. Well, although one of the funny things that I often laugh at is that we tell kids all the time, share. At what age do we say it's not okay to share anymore? Because I'm sure if I went to my next door neighbor and was like, hey, you need to share your car with me, they'd probably tell me to go pound sand.
Oh, man.
So, what can you do if you want to protect yourself and yet you still want to share what because there's a whole realm of open source out there, and there's a whole realm of people who want to maintain ownership, but they have no problems if people use that.
Yep.
There is...
So we...
Go for it.
Creative Commons, which gives us, there's different steps through that as well. So there's, it gives you the ability to share things so people can use them commercially with modification, privately for non-commercial use, or not at all, which is what our podcast is set to, is they could be used privately but not for commercial use. So if somebody were, and my thought process behind that was if somebody had people over for a party and they said, oh, you ought to listen to these guys, and they put our podcast on their stereo and had 10 or 15 people listening to it, that's fine. Like, that was, but if somebody, like, if we're talking about how awesome, like last week's episode, we were talking about the lock laces, and we were talking about your pickeys and your Ethernet line adapters. If those companies came in and like cut out chunks of what we said and were using that as their product endorsements, that's not okay.
Right. And Creative Commons, I've done a lot of work with Creative Commons. I've done a lot of work with a lot of what they call copyleft licenses over the years between my Linux development and other open source development. I've worked very heavily in Creative Commons with the GPL license, with the LGPL license, with the Apache license, with more licenses than I know what to do with. And these things are there to help protect protect the people who develop it. I mean, the GPL, the GNU GPL license and the LGPL license, those are great to protect for the software side, our code, to maintain that, to make sure that it remains open and free, so that someone can't just take our code, slap it in their proprietary or their copyrighted code, and make changes and utilize. It's a way to protect. Even though it's free and open for people to use, it's still there to protect the sanctity of the code, to make sure that it maintains open, and there still is an ownership element to it. Even if it's being given away, there's still an ownership element to it. And so these are all... Huh?
We'll see what Google and Oracle have to say about that.
And
probably 5 to 10 more years.
And that's one of the things that was the Google Oracle, though. That was more of Oracle realized it wasn't charging enough for its licenses. And so they decided to sue to try to make more from it. And Google found a loophole. Yep. And Oracle doesn't like it.
It's been like the longest ongoing battle of all time. Hilarious.
Well, and it will continue to a certain extent.
Yep.
Microsoft tried doing that with Linux several times, and it fell short. And now they just started open sourcing a lot of their projects, because if you can't beat them, join them.
Yep.
So there are ways to protect your rights as content creators and still be able to give away your content. I mean, I have, it's very, very important. But also as content creators, and for those out there that are aspiring to be content creators, watch things like music. Music is a big one. You can find all sorts of either public domain or Creative Commons licensed music, or good free music out there, or an artist that can write stuff, which I need to remember more often when I'm putting together videos. But Brian wrote the entry and exit theme song for the podcast.
Yep.
And some of the other songs, for the BTS stuff, I found either attributed, or you don't have to attribute, but free music to be able to utilize for that, which will change at some point, obviously. But and
if it doesn't say, like, if you find some music and you think, oh, that's cool, it looks like it's available, but it doesn't say, ask.
Yeah.
Ask first.
Because even if it is copyrighted,
you're in too deep.
Even if it is copyrighted and you ask, the copyright owner can either sell or give you a license to distribute. Yeah. There's nothing saying that he can't go, oh yeah, well, let's write down something and sign something real quick, and I'll let you use that.
Yeah. Stephen King does that a lot for the movies. If you want to read some interesting stuff, go see how he handles his movie royalty license. It's amazing. If somebody approaches him with an idea and he thinks it's good and he thinks that person has a talent, he signs over the movie licensing, usually for $1. Holy crap. Like, he could be making extra millions and billions of dollars on the movie royalties. He just signs them off. It's like, oh, here's $1. I'll take $1 out of it. And you make a movie. Make me proud. Oh, it's awesome.
If you do a search for public domain library or anything like that, you can find extensive things on what is public domain. So public domain is pretty much stuff that the copyright has run out of.
Yep.
And I'm not going to go into deep into copyright law because it kind of changes, but it's, life of the artist plus X amount of years or whatever it is.
Yeah, 50 to 100, depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
The current minimum in the whole world is 50.
Yeah, it's like life of the artist plus 50 years.
Yep.
And then it goes into public domain. When stuff hits public domain, then it does not need, you don't have to have a license, you don't have to attribute anything, you don't have to buy anything. It's there for you to use.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, if someone records something that is public domain, his rendition might be copyrighted, and you wouldn't be able to use their singing or their musical score in the case of like music. So keep close attention to that as well.
Yeah.
Because that becomes, even though it is the work that he is, for example, music, if it's someone singing or playing an instrument, even though what they are doing is uncovered under public domain, the act of them doing it becomes an original work.
Yep.
So just
you want to look out for, like, if you're doing videos, keep an eye out, or keep an ear out, I guess, for music in the background. Like, not, if you're like doing a video and you're outside and somebody's playing a song that you can just barely hear, YouTube's going to hear that. Like, when you upload that video and it cleans up the audio, YouTube's going to hear that, and it's going to go, hey, there's copyrighted music there.
Well, the perfect example is the St. Patty's Day video I just put up. I'm not able to monetize it because...
No, like, that's for, like, that was kind of focused on the music, though. I'm talking about, like if your focus is on, like, say, you talking, but you, like, say there's something playing just off somewhere else, and it's just a little noise in the background, and you wouldn't even think about it at the time, but that could cause you copyright issues later. I don't remember what video I was doing, but I didn't even notice it. I uploaded it on my YouTube, and then it gave me a copyright notice, and I was like, what the? No, man, like, what? I was doing a Minecraft video, and I just had some music playing on the TV, and it picked that up, and it was like, hey, you're playing music. Ah, crap. So,
well, we have run this thing down to its course. We are going to continue because there's a few more points that I want to make on this one, so we will continue this in the BTS episode. I don't want to run these episodes too terribly long, even though we're talking about some good stuff. So there will be a little extra in the BTS. But until next week, guys, see ya.
Beam us out.